watching by the way of television, wherever you are, I want to tell you nothing is impossible to him that can believe it. My God can do anything but fail. The problem is you're too lazy to try it. Get in that book and study to show yourself approved. Try God and see if he won't do it. If you got sons and daughters that are on drugs and they're out in the byway and highways and compel them to come in, put them on the altar. Send me their picture. We'll put them on our prayer basket here. Every service we have, we pray for them. They might not get delivered today or tomorrow, but they will get delivered because we're going to hold them up before the Lord. And God said he would honor your prayer. He would honor your faith. And faith works. And Jesus does not fail. Neither will he fail you. You trust your doctor. You trust the medicine they give you. You trust your government. You trust your employer. Why don't you get the one that controls everybody, the God, and trust him first? And see if God can and won't. I believe that God is going to do something in 2020 for this ministry and many others. I believe that God is going to open some doors. And I'm going to walk through whatever he opens. So, okay, you better get ready. Because when he tells me to go, I'm going, and I'm not going to ask your permission to go. I'm gone. It's called color me gone. I only got a short time to live, and whatever I'm going to do it for God and for his kingdom, and don't care if it hair lips every damn devil in hell. See, you made me cuss again. Well, they are damned. I look down at this scripture, it says, glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. And it came to pass, as the angels were gone away from them into the heavens, and the shepherds said one to another, let us now go even to Bethlehem and see this thing which is to come to pass, which the Lord has made known to us. Do you know that God makes things known to you? There's things that God will tell you you can't say to nobody else. See, I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut. Y'all know that, don't you? I have a hard time if you tell me don't tell nobody, don't do that. You know I am not going to do that. I'm not going to lie and tell you, yeah, I'll keep a secret, because as sure as you get your back turned on me, I'm telling somebody. But if God tells me not to say something, I'm not. Mike, what is that on the back of your head? He's got a piece of hair, a wad of hair sticking up like that. You ever seen these people walk around, they have a rubber band around a piece of hair sticking? That's what I thought that was. A halo. You're far from a halo, Michael. Alfalfa's hair. Now, where was I? Yeah, God tells me not to say something. I can't. Because there's a reason that God will tell you not to do something. He will prevent things from happening if you can have 100% trust in him, knowing that all things are going to work together for his good and for your good. Is God in your corner? Yes. Is God on your side? Yes. Is God your Savior? Yes. Is God your healer? Yes. Is God your miracle worker? Yes. God can't do anything without your permission when it comes to you doing what you want to do. You have free will. You didn't have to come to church today. Mark, the 12th chapter, the 25th verse. It says, for when they shall rise from the dead, they will neither marry nor be given in marriage, but as the angels which are in heaven. Tells us that God has something beyond this flesh that we serve here on earth. And then when we die and we're raised up to be with Him, we're going to be like angels. Now, I heard somebody preach one time. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm going to just repeat it anyway. It was somebody else's message, not mine. That down here we're in a training facility.
Yes, we are.
We're being trained for something beyond this world. And that's one of the reasons why it says that we're not of this world. We're passing through. And so if that's true, then there is something beyond the veil and something that God is trying to get us ready for. And the main thing that I've found in my times of trouble, which I get a lot of it, is that I can't see beyond the vision of what God really has in store for me or my ministry. I know there's something out there. And I know God's getting me prepared for something because of all the hell that I'm going through. And based on that, I look back on my life and I see, it's like somebody said to me the other day, he said, my God, he said, more things happen to you than anybody I've ever seen. I said, that's because God loves me. He knows that I can handle it. And He's bringing me through some stuff. And He's teaching me how to have mercy and how to forgive and how to let go. And letting go is the hard thing because you don't think about this. This scripture here has been probably my rock. And it's been the thing that has given me more strength and more endurance than anything. And it comes in Mark 11th chapter, verse 22, starting. And Jesus answered and He said to them, have faith in God. Now, sometimes that's a big deal because we can't see God, so therefore we have to use something that goes beyond our flesh, and that is just trusting something that we can't see. And if you look in your life, how many times did you trust somebody that let you down?
Amen.
Now, you could see them, and that hurts. But there's never been a time that I've trusted God that He's ever let me down for whatever reason. Maybe I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but later on I found out why He didn't want me to have it. It was for my hurt, not my gain. And when you look back and you look in your life and you see the things that God has brought you through, how He's healed your body, how He's healed your family, how He has helped you with a job or give you a house or whatever, if you learn to trust God in everything, not just what you think He can do, but everything, He will bring it to pass. It might not happen that very moment, but it will happen if you can trust Him and believe Him. And one of the things that I tell people, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, God told me to do this, and that was to give everybody that I pray for a bottle of oil, that card saying, I, Bob Frary, am anointed to be blessed, prosper, and highly favored of the Lord. And from time to time to give them a hanky to remind them of their past and what's going to happen in their future. That might not seem important to you. You might take that for granted. But it is a reminder. If you can remind the devil what God has done for you, he's got a journey. He's going to hell. You're heaven bound. But you have to be an overcomer. And the Bible says you're an overcomer by what? The word of your testimony. And if you're being tested, it is for what? A testimony. So it goes on to say, for verily I say unto you, verily means truly from what I understand, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, mountain means your problem. Situations that you're going through, no matter what it is, no matter how big it is, how small it is, how lack of understanding or whatever, your mountain, it says, you say unto that mountain, be thou removed and be cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in your heart the things which you have said. If you've ever had someone that has been a mate, male or female, a woman having a man for a husband or boyfriend or vice versa, and you tell them that you love them, you're giving them lip service. But when you tell God you love Him, He don't pay no attention to the lips. He looks down here, the heart. Because from within the heart, the mouth speaketh. And so if you truly love somebody or you truly love God, you will do everything within your power to keep that person happy and be a friend. And you'll do this because number one is we need friends, not enemies. We got enough enemies as it is. You can walk down the street today and you got to look on both sides to see if somebody's going to jump out of a bush. Or you have to lock your doors, put a dog there, a security system, and let the cops have a 24-hour monitoring system on you so that you can make sure that somebody ain't going to break in your house. How many's had something happen to your house? Come to your house and actually done something in your home, sold, torched it, whatever. Well, those things is what you need to praise God for, because let me tell you, if it happened to you, it can happen to somebody else. And remember that somebody else might be your best friend, and it might be your enemy. See, I don't want to see anybody go to hell. I don't know about you. But if it is what God said it is, I certainly don't want to go, and I don't want to see anybody go with me. Go there with me if I go. If I go, y'all pack your bags and bring that $5 bill with you in the suitcase, and we'll go out there on the coast and sit there and wait. You heard about that stupid idiot? Told these people, he had hundreds of people on the beach out there in California with a $5 bill in their suitcase waiting for Jesus to pick them up. That's how gullible people are. They got their eyes focused on a man. And it could be a woman, but a man I'm speaking about. And they don't study the word to see if it be of God. He said to rightly divide the word. Rightly. In other words, when you look into that word, like I just read to you, have faith in God, what's that mean? You've never seen God. You hear people talking about God. You get idiots up there saying there never was God. We were born from, come out of the sea. We were born from apes. If I've come from an ape, I'm a hell of a lot better looking than they are. Excuse my French. That flew out and I didn't expect it, but it is too late now. I got myself in trouble already. Jesus. But shall believe those things which he saith shall come to pass. Say it. Shall come to pass. But in order for it to come to pass, you have to say it. You can't just think about it coming to pass. You have to say it. He shall have whatsoever he saith. Now that scripture is rightly divided. You can't just have anything you want, because the Bible tells you that God knows exactly what you need. And he's only going to give you what you need, not exactly what you want. You might want some child. A woman wants a child. But God already sees in the future that that child is not going to be born right. And it's going to be a big trouble to you. Heartaches and pain and sorrow. So therefore what you do is you ask and you beg and you ask and you beg. And then finally God lets you have your heart's desire. And then you complain because it's not what you really wanted. Just like a husband or wife. Somebody said to me not too long ago, when are you going to get a wife? I said, when I die. I'm going to be a bride. That means that up there I'm going to have a bride. I'm going to be the bride. I'm going to meet the bridegroom, so I'm going to be a bride. And I have an assignment when I get there, because he's getting me prepared down here to do something over there. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when you pray, believe that you have received them, and you shall have them. Believe that you have already got them. They're in your hands, but you haven't tangibly touched it. And it's still yours. It's still your prayer being answered. And when you stand praying, this is the hard one. When you stand praying, forgive. If you have aught against any, that your Father also, which is in heaven, may forgive you of your trespasses. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father, which is in heaven, forgive you of your trespasses. I've been in the ministry going on 46 years now. I've seen more things than most people will ever see in a lifetime. I count it a privilege, because when I was ready to commit suicide, clear back 46, 7 years ago. I prayed, I said, God, if there is anybody out there that's real, if this is real, I need to find this person. I need to know that this is a real thing. There are hundreds, thousands maybe, of preachers that get up every Sunday, maybe every Wednesday, maybe every Friday, and they'll have a sermon prepared. And they prepare a sermon that they think is going to help you. But it should also be helping them because, first of all, the word is for everybody. And when I preach a sermon, I'm preaching to myself. I don't just preach to you. I preach to myself. Because I know that I'm the one that's going to have to stand in the judgment bar. And anything that I've done wrong, it's going to drip, the blood's going to drip from my fingers if I don't tell you the truth. And so when I do tell you the truth, people say, well, you shouldn't have said that. Say, well, then you get up and preach. You get up and tell them what you think. I have to tell it because God inspires me to tell it. When I tell you something, it's from right here, the heart. And I'm not up here beating my horns and trying to make you think that I'm a macho and I'm perfect and everything, because I am not. In fact, I'm probably worse than all of you. But I did find mercy and grace. And that made a change in my life, because when I asked God, whatever I do, God, let me find this person. And I'll never forget this. Delaware, Ohio, back in February around the 4th or 5th, sitting on the back row of a church. Saw this man walk out in a black tuxedo, had a black tie and a ruffled shirt, huge diamond ring you could see from here to across the street yonder, black shiny shoes, grabbed that microphone and singing How Great Thou Art, and he had that microphone up here and the choir was singing. Couldn't hear yourself think. I turned around and I looked over at the woman sitting next to me and I said, there ain't no way in hell that man's going to get any money out of me. I didn't have any. I had 10 cents in my pocket that day. That's the God's truth, I'm telling you. As soon as I said that, now you could not have heard me. There was so much screaming and shouting and singing and carrying on and music. She couldn't even hear what I said. He stopped and he looked back and he said, you young man, stand up. I looked back and there ain't nothing but a wall. He said, I'm talking to you. Me? Yeah, you. So I got up and I'm standing there. And I'm telling you the truth, I thought this man's feet was this far above the ground. And I saw fire come out of that man's eyes. You might not believe this. Don't care. It's my story and I'm going to stick to it. As he walked back there slowly, the two guys that I came with that morning, one I just met, the other one I've known 2 weeks. Knew nothing about the one at all. Can't even remember his name. He come back there and he looks at me and he said, I'll deal with you a minute. You, come here. He calls out the guy that I just met that morning. Started telling him stuff about himself and he started crying. I wonder why he was crying. I thought, that big sissy, why is he crying? He said, how am I doing? Do I know you? Do I know anything about you? How did I know that? God had to tell you. And he reached up to touch him. Pew, down he goes. I thought he hit him. And as soon as he did that, I went like this. I grabbed my fist back here, and I stood in a cock position, getting ready. He calls my friend out that I knew two weeks. I knew some things about him. He was separated from his wife, going through some situation stuff. We were living in a trailer. He read his beads. Down he goes. Now I'm really ready. And he said, young man, I'm very reluctant to call anybody into the ministry, because the bigger you are, the harder it is, and the more you're going to have to go through. And I thought, oh God, I got to lose all this weight. He went back to when I was 16 years old. And he opened up my closet and he revealed stuff that nobody knows. Nobody knew and nobody knowed. And he reaches up and he taps me. Nothing happened. So I buy an album and I buy his book, How I Met the Master. I go back to the trailer that night and I listen to it. I read that book, which I don't read, but I read that one for some reason. I read the whole book, and it was only about maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. Big print, thank God. I read that, and that morning, I laid in the bed. I was on a mattress and a box spring, no bed itself, just on the floor. You had to take the door off of the hinge in order to get into the bedroom. And something come in and grabbed my shoulder here on this side and just shook me. And Parks, what do you want? And there wasn't nobody in that room but me, and the door was still shut. I rolled off of that bed, and I buried my face into that fingers, and I was looking up, and I could see the clock. It was 10 minutes after 1. And I was afraid to get up off the floor because I didn't know what had touched me, but I knew it had to be something supernatural. I fell asleep on my knees, and I woke up at 10 after 8 in the morning, looking at that clock that was on the wall. And I can only explain this. It was like something was just zapped completely out of me. I was on cloud nine. I jumped up and started screaming, running down the hallway. Parks at the other end of the trailer comes, "What's wrong?" I said, "Man, I just got saved. I just got saved." He said, "From what?" And believe it or not, everywhere I went, I was so excited. I had to tell people that, and they were saying, "From what?" I even got fired from my job for preaching when I used to go in there and cuss all the time. They couldn't figure out what happened. I lost my marbles. Now I'm preaching and no longer cussing. "What's wrong with you, Prairie? You ain't got no brains?" I said, "I lost whatever I had." I said, "I'm telling you, something's happened to me." I'd go into houses, and there'd be footprints on the wall, footprints in the sand, and 10 Commandments, and Jesus walking on the water, and the cross, and everything you could think of that would pertain to religion. I'd get in there, and I was so excited. I couldn't wait to tell them what happened to me in church and what God did to me. And when they found out where I went to church, they threw me out of their house. "You belong to that Leroy Jenkins, that false prophet? That man's taking people for their money." Well, I thought that too when I drove up there, because he had a big limousine. He had a Eldorado Cadillac, and had a diamond ring big enough to choke a horse. I thought the same thing, but then God opened my eyes to make me realize it's not what's on the outside of the appearance of a person, it's what's on the inside of a person. And being around that ministry and that man, and seeing the love that he gave and the sacrifices he made for the gospel's sake, and going through all the torment and hell that he went through just to preach the gospel. He was a preacher of his own. If you can believe, all things are possible. In the 4th chapter of James, starting with the 7th verse, "Submit yourself therefore to God," not to man, not to wife, not to husband, but to God. 4 verse 7. "Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." Not might, will. "Draw nigh unto God, and he," Mike, I'm preaching, "and he will draw nigh unto you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners. Purify your hearts, ye double-minded." Purify your heart. How do you purify your heart? You have this guilt, hatred, bitterness, jealousy, envy, strife bottled up in there. And you get upset at somebody and it explodes on you. As Brenda says, it sends your blood pressure skyrocketing. But it says to resist. You know how hard it is to resist people that try to corrupt you? It ain't going to hurt you to sneak that little spoon out of that restaurant, Bob. Take it. Don't tell that person you saw that dropped that $20 bill that they dropped it. Just go pick it up and thank God for your blessing. I used to have people tell me that. I actually watched somebody do that. And then sit there and hold up my face and say, look what God blessed me with. And knowing that that person lost that $20, and that might have been something that was very special, needed. You don't have to steal. All you have to do is trust God, believe God, and serve God, and God will see to your needs. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. That there may continue be more blessings to you to share with other people. Because see, when you look at your old-natured man, what you used to do and what you're doing now, and you convert over to this side, things change. The things you used to do, you don't want to do no more. You can't get saved and go back and sit down with your drug buddies and sit there and smoke joint and act like there's nothing to it. You don't go back and entertain the bad habits, the sinful nature. What you do is you get your heart right, you get cleaned up, and then start serving for God, serving people that you see in need, somebody that you want to reach out and touch. There's a song, He Reached Out and Touched Me. As He walked by, He reached out, He touched me. I can't tell you how it feels to be different than what I was. All I can try to do is show it by loving somebody else and helping them find the truth. You'll never understand it until you experience it. And the more you experience it and the more you share your testimony and you help others find the way, the happier you are. That if you don't know God today, today is your day. Today is your day that you can say, Lord, come into my heart. Change my heart. Mold me and make me the way you want me to be. Help me to control my temper. Deliver me from all the uncleanness, all my sins, transgressions. Teach me how to follow you. Love me, Lord. Let me love you. And I will give you my heart. If you could pray that little simple prayer right there, God can take your life this very moment and He can turn it around.